What's up, everybody? This is Coach MJ, the coaching connoisseur, and I want to welcome you to our lunch and learn for today. I also want to tell everybody um, happy Global Entrepreneurship Week. Had to get the words right. Global Entrepreneurship Week is November 8th through 14th, and it is part of an overriding initiative of National Entrepreneurship Month here in the United States. And I want to congratulate and celebrate that because it's an initiative that puts extra focus on entrepreneurs, small business owners, large business owners, and really encourages and celebrates those of us who are brave enough and courageous enough to go out on our own, because it does take courage. It does take an extraordinary amount of belief to launch your own business, and it also takes a little bit of crazy. And so this is Global Entrepreneurship Week. I don't know why I can't say that, but anyway, I didn't mention it yesterday. I didn't mention it the day before yesterday, but it's the 8th through the 14th. So anyway, our lunch and learns for this week are a part of that initiative. And today we're going to be talking about a question I got from a prospect. It's probably been about a year and a half ago. I just found a list of questions that people wanted me to answer on my trainings. And so I'm getting to that list now. And the question was, can being Black, female, and past a certain age hinder your business? That's how they worded it. Past a certain age. And so this particular individual, because I know the demographic of the group that this person came from, they weren't talking about somebody in their 60s or 70s. They were talking about somebody probably in the later part of their career, their 40s, their 50s, right? Because we know in corporate America, that's old, right? That's older, let's say. That's where the age discrimination comes in. That's where the income starts plateauing. And so when we say older, we're talking about people who are still having a lot of ability to contribute, who actually have the experience that companies should value. However, they are starting to be edged out of their jobs. So this person wants to know, can being Black and female and in this 40s and 50s age gap, maybe even 60s age group, hinder you from starting a business? And specifically, we're going to be talking about a coaching business. Now, I am a firm believer that anything that you see as a reason not to do something should actually become reframed as the reason you should do something. A lot of times we as people, we shy away from things that are uncomfortable, right? Anything that's going to pull us out of our comfort zone, anything that's going to require change, even if the outcome is something that we want, we shy away from it, and we begin to look at things in our lives as reasons not to do something. A lot of times we will use our children as a reason not to do something. We will use our schedule as a reason not to start our business. We will use our spouse, our job, our health, anything, our money, anything to be a reason to hold back. And that what's always unfortunate about that mentality, when people allow those things to hold them back, it's as if they're waiting for a time when those things won't be the case. Now, obviously, your children will grow up. So eventually them being young will not be a factor. However, why would you want to wait until your children are grown and gone to create a life that they could have benefited from, whether it involves a better living, better educational options, freedoms to move about as you want to with your children? Why would you wait until they grow up to do that? But all the other reasons that we use, those are pretty much here to stay. If you have a job and you're saying that your job is the reason why now is not the right time, you will always have a job in that case, and it'll never be the right time. If you use your spouse as a reason, we're hoping that your spouse does not go away. Therefore, they will always be the reason. And what I have found to be true is that whatever you think are your reasons to not do something right now, I don't want to use the money. I don't have the money. My husband or wife won't let me. My kids are too little. I don't have the time. That's the very reason why you should do it. What do I mean by that? And I'm going to get to the Black, female, and older part, but I'm kind of setting the stage here. If you use the lack of time as the reason why you won't start a business, which will eventually create more time for you, if you use that as the reason why, you will always be stuck in the situation of not having enough time. And I think I know what you're thinking. Well, when you start a business, you're going to have to work harder for yourself than you did for your employer, or at least you have to work as hard. And with certain business models, that's true. If you go into the retail space, into the food space, into hospitality, into, one-on-one service providers and things of that nature, you're right. In order to scale those businesses, it requires more and more and more of your time. And so if you are having a time issue now, you do need to become an entrepreneur, but you need to seek out a model that leverages time, that creates time for you, that helps you to buy back your time. Because I agree, going into a business that's going to take you from a 40 or 50 hour a week obligation to your job to a 60, 80 hour a week, no, 80, 100 hour a week commitment to running the business. That doesn't even sound appealing to me. And I am an entrepreneur. I get it. There are people that start those businesses. We need those people because those are the people that we buy from. But if you are saying that time is an issue, it's not that you should not be a business owner. It's that you need to find a model that helps you to create time, leverage your time, buy back your time. But I said all that to demonstrate that the reason that you are using to not do something is the reason that you should. If you are in a situation where you feel like your spouse won't support you, the kids are little, and you don't have enough time or bandwidth, all the more reason that you need a leveraged business that gives you the time, that gives you the freedom, that gives you the income to overcome those things. And sometimes your spouse may not be on board. I'm actually going all the way left field, but these things are coming to mind. I just feel like I need to say them. You didn't ask your spouse, or at least most people don't ask their spouse, what you could do for a living when it came to working for somebody else. So when it comes to starting your business, yes, it's better if you have their buy-in and their support. But sis, I believe that you need to have the wherewithal to move forward in faith and encourage with your business, regardless of what this individual says. Yes, you're walking through life as one. Yes, you are partners. But again, they don't tell you when to come and go at work. They didn't tell you what major to major in college. They didn't tell you what job to accept. Usually we can get a job or a better job on our own without our spouse's buy-in. You may get their opinion, but you don't need their permission. So if you are creating a business that's going to help you exceed all the income, all of the time limitations and all of that, why would you allow their limited understanding of your dream to stop you from having your dream? The thing is, even when you are one with your spouse, you still are an individual. And we need to create a healthy relationship where we can move forward on our own and pursue our dreams without feeling like our spouse is not going to support us. Okay, I got all that out of my system. Back to being Black, female, and older. The reason why this question comes up is that we know in this country that Black people are on the bottom of so many categories. I heard a person say yesterday that in all categories of, how a city is formed or how a city is operated at the governmental level, all the programs, all that, we're at the bottom. And that's a sad situation. The wealth gap is continuing to widen between the haves and the have-nots. And in most cases, I'd say in all cases, for what matters, it's white people versus everybody else, right? That wealth gap is widening. And we have seen the data that shows that Black people's businesses are not given the capital opportunities. We're not given the business loans. They will even give those business loans outside people coming into immigrants, giving them permission to put businesses in our communities, giving them the funding to put businesses in our communities, but not allowing us those same opportunities. We know that those things are true. We know that a lot of times there is a stigma to having or to patronizing a Black-owned business because it's not going to be the service, because it's not going to be the quality, because it's not going to be the right price. All these things make it a different type of challenge to have a Black-owned business. And listen to the words I said. It's a different type of challenge. Being different does not mean impossible. Being different does not mean it's insurmountable. Okay? It just means it's different. And so you have to be able to be creative to circumvent those issues. But yes, I am acknowledging having a Black-owned business is difficult. However, I saw a statistic the other day, I think it was on Forbes.com, can't remember, but it said that of all of the businesses, of all of the Black female-owned businesses that were in existence before the pandemic, over 90% of them held on through the situation, and they're still here today. Not saying they didn't struggle. Yeah, they struggled, but they didn't close their doors. And that is because they have turned the difficult situation of being, first of all, a Black-owned business into an advantage. And here's how. We as a people have been resilient through the centuries of oppression, of enslaved ancestors, of Jim Crow, of all of these things, the civil rights movement, and up to today. It just keeps, our oppression just keeps changing forms. It has not left at all, right? We have become resilient. We have become creative. We have learned how to stretch a dollar. We have learned how to make a way out of no way, as they say in church. And so because we don't have to, we can't depend on the traditional avenues to get the help that we need. We don't depend on the traditional avenues to get the help we need, which means a lot of us, because you are Black, you can find a way to make it work. And when you do, when you find your funding the creative way, because you couldn't get it the traditional way, then you own it outright. When you use maybe crowdfunding, or maybe you take a chance and you empty out your savings, or you empty out your retirement fund, or you let some people you know personally or investors invest in your business in a non-traditional way, you own it outright. I think about the story of Atlas Monroe, who is a Black woman who owns a vegan fried chicken product. And she at first went on, I believe it was Shark Tank, and they tried to lowball her on her idea because they knew it had value. And she said, no, I'm not going to do that. Because here's the other thing. A lot of times you will, as a Black person, be offered the financing, but it'll be a low amount. You'll be offered help, but it'll be at an insulting level. So that's the same as not getting the help at all, right? She said, no. She kept ownership within. She didn't sell her company for pennies to those sharks. She kept it within. She bought her own manufacturing facility, and now she is doing phenomenal. Every time she releases a new batch of products, they sell out within hours. I'm on her mailing list, and I've been, me and my son, we have both been subscribed and purchased her products. And so now she owns it. Nobody can take that from her. She doesn't have an investor taking half the profits. She doesn't have any of those things. She had to get creative. It was already creative on her part to go on Shark Tank as opposed to going to a bank. And I can't remember her story completely, but she might have tried at a bank at first and got turned down. That's what happens. And so from the being Black standpoint, I believe here's what's true. Being Black is either a hindrance or it is an asset, depending on your mindset toward it, depending on how you approach it. The very thing that holds you is meant to hold you back. When you say, okay, I see what y'all doing, let me try this other avenue. Now you have 100% ownership. Now you know how to solve the next series of problems that's going to come, because as an entrepreneur, it never stops. But here's what's also true as Black people, because we have been, and I know we've got PTSD, and we're tired of hearing how our oppression has made us stronger and we're better and all that, but it's true. Even though we want it to end, even though it needs to end, it's not likely to end in the way we want it to. Meanwhile, we're going to use what was supposed to keep us down as a launch pad. We're going to use our oppression to build ourselves up, right? So look at your Blackness, not as a hindrance, not as they won't support me because I'm Black. Well, those are lies. The majority of small businesses started every single day in the United States. Upwards of 87%, or I think it might have gotten to 89% at that last report they put out, are started by Black women. They say women of color to include a few other people. I'm going to say the majority of them are Black women, because we have the reason to do it. Again, not being afforded opportunities in the workplace, being overlooked for promotions, being underpaid and overworked and unappreciated gives us the very drive that we need to stay the course as an entrepreneur. It's tough to be an entrepreneur. It's tough to motivate oneself. It's tough to go out there and create the work, create the clients, create the sales, create the revenue. It takes a special type of person, and we are uniquely dare I say, programmed or groomed for that, in spite of the fact that these things are meant to keep us at the bottom, to keep us being lenders and not borrowers, or being borrowers and not lenders, excuse me, keeping us from being the top and instead keeping us at the bottom. Those things were meant to do that. And in many cases, unfortunately, they do. But you're here today because you want to find out how you can turn your liability into an asset. And no, I'm not trying to say being Black is a liability in general, but in the context of what we're talking about today, which is business, it's considered a liability, but we're going to turn it into an asset. You have an inner strength. You have a resilience. And this really bleeds over into the part about being female as well. It also has a similar effect on us, right? There's a gender wage gap, right? Men in the same position as women earn more. They're respected more. We're called emotional. They're called leaders. We're called bossy. They're called assertive. All of these types of things exist, but women, I would almost say, not being Black and not being female is a liability. Even though we as Black women are at the bottom of the hierarchy as far as business and careers and money and all of that, well, we're near the bottom. I think Black men fare in some ways even worse in some categories, but we're talking about Black and female today. Because we are used to that, we don't have an air of expectation or entitlement. That's the word. We don't have that air. We don't move about expecting things to be a certain way in the same way that white people do, in the same way that men do. So we have an advantage. You know how, okay, I am not a sports person, so don't laugh at me when I get this a little bit wrong, but there have been in the NBA history some very short basketball players who have dominated. Now, we know basketball to be a sport where taller people do better because the basket's up there, right? So if you're shorter, in general, it's thought to be a liability. But these people found a way to make it an asset. You know, I guess they're around there down low where the tall people aren't looking and sticking and making moves, right? I bet a lot of people slept on those shorter players because they figured they couldn't do it, only to get owned by them when they came out on the court and did their thing. Same thing when people pick on a small person. Maybe a bully picks on a small person, and then the bully ends up getting just completely destroyed in a fight because they underestimated. See, the short person has something, or the little person has something to make up for. They had a disadvantage, so they've had to work more. They've had to strategize. Since I don't have the height, since I don't have the size, or whatever the weakness is, and I use air quotes because what one person sees as a weakness is another person's strength, right? They had to strategize of how to get more with less, of how to do and operate in spaces where we're not welcome. And what's interesting, I'm reading a book about masculine and feminine energy, about hustling and flowing. We are now seeing that the traits that were considered to be advantageous in business, being masculine and hustling and being strong and assertive and keep the emotion out and all that. That's not how business works today. Now that feminine energy, now those other softer skill sets are being valued because they see you can't strong arm your way through every business interaction. And women who most of the time naturally thrive in those energetic spaces are the winners, because a lot of times men are resistant to those sides of themselves. Everybody has masculine and feminine energy within them. It's just a matter of what's more dominant. It's just a matter of what they are comfortable operating within. You need to have both. And so women don't have to be like men. We can be like women, right? And dominate. And the reason I brought that up is because what we see as a downside is actually our greatest strategic point of view, because again, men and white people, especially white men, operate from a place of, what is the word? Entitlement. Why is it I can't say that word today? Entitlement. And so they don't often know what to do when things don't go their way. Thus the tantrums that were in the White House recently. Thus the tantrums you've probably seen at the workplace where you work, where things didn't go their way and they didn't know how to cope. Meanwhile, you were like, cool, we can just operate another way. We can do this, you can do that. And you brought in another approach. You're able to do that because you're a woman. And being a Black woman, you have a double advantage. You're able to operate from a place of always being someone keeping you down, and you found other creative ways to excel, and also being female, not just going in there with the brute force, which does not work today. It does not work today in most spaces. People aren't on that now. We need to approach us a little bit different. And so you're able to do both of those things if you see them as advantages and not liabilities or things that are, anything can be an advantage or a liability. People assume that being tall and slender is always great, but there are things about being tall and slender that people who are not tall and slender don't have to deal with. That you think, oh, I would love to be 5'10", 5 or 6'2". I would love to have long legs. If you had to live a season, right, a fashion season with a tall person, not being able to walk into most stores and buy the things on the rack because they don't accommodate you, even though millions of women are taller, right? You wouldn't like it because most of the stuff on the rack you can't wear and it looked like it fits you. That's just an example of something that people assume, being this way is always better. There's always disadvantages and advantages to anything. It's about how you look at it, right? That's what this whole thing is about. It's about how you look at it. It's about your belief toward it. It's about your attitude and your approach towards handling the issues. So we talked about being Black. Is it a hindrance? It is if you let it be. We've talked about being female. Is it a hindrance? It is if you let it be. And here's the other thing before we move on. In the coaching space, that brute force does not work, right? There are certain spaces where that might, in coaching world, where that might work a little bit. But over the long term, over a wide range of potential clients, over the course of all the time where you want to be building your wealth, building your brand, building your exposure, building your visibility, that's not going to work. You have to be able to coach a person through difficult things that they're struggling with, and you can't strong arm them to do that. It's better to take a different approach, again, which is most of the time more natural to women. Even if that may not be how you operate all the time, you can get into it if you think about it. You can get into that frame of mind. So we talked about those two things. Now, being older, again, we know about the age discrimination. We know about how your career can peter out. And here's the other thing. They know that in your late 60s, because of Social Security and retirement age, you're likely to leave in your 60s. So why would they want to keep investing in you as opposed to replacing you with somebody younger who requires a lower salary and who's going to be there longer, right? So the work world does not value age. And it's funny to me when I think about me at my glorious age. Like, I literally, and you as well, could potentially, if you take care of yourself, live as many more years as you have already lived. People live into their 90s, right? People live to be over 100, and you can claim that for yourself. But no matter how much longer you live, there's no reason why you have to start winding down. People get to their 50s and they start thinking about what I'm going to wind down, when I'm going to stop working. And that's because, retirement was created. The concept of retirement was created to get people to work jobs they would not normally want to work, to leave entrepreneurial spaces that were more common 150 years ago to work for somebody else. They're like, well, you don't have to do this job that's not really your passion, not really your purpose, for 40 years, and then you can retire and do nothing. Why not operate in a space where you don't need to retire? I'm not going to ever retire. I would just keep reinventing myself. If I ever don't want to be a coach again, which I can't imagine that, because I absolutely love what I do. But if I ever couldn't do that, I would just do something else. The idea of sitting at home and doing nothing and collecting a fixed check, that does not appeal to me. But the work world programs people to, when you get to your 50s and 60s, start planning your exit. Start planning when you're going to stop doing this. But they don't give you any preparation for what you're going to do after that. And if you don't have the money to live the life you want to live, you're going to be stuck for however many decades, waiting for the first of the month and a check to come, but you're not doing the thing that you love. You're not doing the things that energize you. You're not doing the things that you enjoy, and you've stopped making a mark on the world. Why would you want to live into your 90s, but only but let that last 30 years not be productive. It doesn't have to be that way. When you have your own thing, when you own your own business, retirement is off the table. And it's not because you can't afford it. When you build a lucrative coaching business where you're earning 6-7 figures a year, and then every quarter, and then every month, like, money is not the reason why you can't retire. See, that's what happens in the job where I got to keep working so I can build up my 401k or whatever it is you're doing. And then I'll stop working and do whatever I can afford to do with this little 401k. No, when you work for yourself, you just keep stacking it up. I think about Les Brown, famous motivational speaker. I love his voice and his style. I used to listen to him a lot. And he is, I don't want to get this wrong, I think he's in his late 70s, maybe even 80, I don't know, but he's still going, right? He's still on the internet, inspiring people and speaking. As long as he has a voice, as long as he has a physical voice, he can continue to do what he does. And maybe you don't want to speak on stage, but I'm saying, even if you want to write, even if you want to coach people in a group setting, even if you want to be a consultant or some type of an advisory role, you can do that till you drop dead. I think about Miss Ernestine Shepherd, the oldest female the oldest female bodybuilder, professional bodybuilder in the world. And I think I'm pretty sure she's the oldest female one, black female one as well. She's like in her 80s, I think. And she's still doing, teaching classes and running 10 miles a day. She buried a husband some years back, and she's still going. You don't have to prepare, like, age doesn't even matter. Age does not hinder your business. Age is actually an advantage because now you have all these skill sets that you can bring to your business to make it successful. Young people can't do that. What is an 18-year-old, even a 25-year-old, sometimes even a 30-year-old, what are they an expert in? Sometimes that they can create wealth with. Sometimes they are. I mean, you're not saying young people can't, but the way the system is set up, most of our young people are not empowered to even have an expertise that they can do or to recognize what it is. But when you've had years of experience, you've been in corporate America, you know how that game is played. And now you can take that expertise and put it to work for you to build your wealth and create freedom for yourself so you can travel the world. Age is your advantage because you've been here a while. Age is your advantage because you know a lot. Age is your advantage because now you know what you don't want. You've been here doing it all this time. Age is not a hindrance. None of these factors are a hindrance in your business. They are assets, but you have to know how to look at them. If you decide that being Black, female, and older is a downside to your life, you're going to be stuck in the place that taught you that. Corporate America, status quo, American dream, which doesn't exist for older Black women, doesn't exist for younger Black women, doesn't exist for any Black people. Don't let the people and the systems and the organizations that benefit from you believing that Black, female, and older is a hindrance, don't let them win. Decide that I'm going to figure out where all these things are assets. And I've told you about them today. All of these things make you stronger as a business owner. All of these things are what's going to make your business thrive, not struggle. You've already been struggling. That's why you're looking to be an entrepreneur. If we've learned nothing else during this pandemic season, we've learned that the things that we've been doing because we thought they had security or because you thought, I'll just do it for a little while longer and then I'll have my dream or whatever it is you thought. Now you've seen all that stuff dismantled and you know the truth. The truth is the only security, if there is security in this world, which I've got another opinion about that altogether, but if there is any type of security, it's in what you do yourself. There is no security in depending on another person who's pursuing their dreams to help you pursue yours. They work like that. The work world is designed to help one person or maybe a couple of partners pursue their dream, the owners of whatever company you work for. You will not have wealth or success, any real success that's going to satisfy you and your entrepreneurial spirit working for somebody else. So my sister, take that Black female past a certain age magic that you have and put it to work for you. Whatever your expertise is, whatever you do for a living, you can do that for yourself in another way to solve problems for your customers and be paid well for it. I'm not talking about making $100 a client, $100 an hour. No, I'm talking about making 3, 5, 7, 10, $15,000 per client because you can help them achieve a result that they can't get any other kind of way. That is your magic. That is where your legacy is going to come from. But you got to know that nothing about you is the reason why you can't do it. All of those things are the reasons why you can't. And they're the reasons why you must. Because there's no promised land out here for Black people. There's no promised land out here for women. And there's no promised land out here for older people except the one you create for yourself. So no, the answer to the question on the screen, can it? Well, can it? Yes, it can if you let it. Does it have to be a hindrance? Absolutely not. And I'd love to show you how you can put your expertise to work for you, for yourself, to create wealth and buy back your time so you can travel the world freely during my upcoming Build Wealth While You Travel Challenge. Starts on the 15th of this month, so just in a few days. Go to buildwealthwhileyoutravel.com and get your VIP ticket. I've waived the registration fee on the basic ticket. You can be basic and get that ticket if you want to, and we welcome you as well. But if you want to level up fast, get the VIP ticket. I've slashed the price on that too because I realize sometimes the fear of investing even a little bit in yourself can stop you. And I don't want you to let that happen, but you got to realize that when you want a lot, it takes a lot. So if you want the 6-7 figure lifestyle, you're going to have to invest in yourself. You're going to have to invest a lot. You're going to have to invest thousands in yourself, but it's worth it because the thousands you invested in your university education, that's obviously not working out for you because you're still not fulfilled. You still haven't reached the income level you want. You still don't have the freedom you want. Why not find out in this challenge what you need to do step by step to create this lifestyle of freedom that you want? So again, it's a 4-day challenge. If you can't attend all of it live, that's okay. We got recordings available for you, but get in on the challenge. Register now. BuildWealthWhileYouTravel.com is the website you need to go to. I'm excited to show you step by step how you can turn what you already know into a thriving coaching business. You might not even think of yourself as being a coach. You might think, well, I'm an accountant. I'm a lawyer. I'm a teacher. I'm a fitness trainer, whatever it is you do. I'm a mail woman, whatever it is you do, you might not think I want to be a coach. You might have another title on it, whatever title that you want to call yourself. The bottom line is if you can get people from where they are to where they want to go, if you can help people solve a problem and experience relief because they have a new outcome that they desire at a deep level, that means you're a coach. And you can turn anything that you are good at, anything that you know very well, any area of expertise can be flipped on its edge and turned into a coaching business. But you got to know how to do it. It's not something that you can rig yourself. If I could have rigged it myself, I would have did it years ago. So grateful for the business coach that came into my life and showed me how to do it step by step. And I want to pass that on to you. So again, Build Wealth While You Travel. BuildWealthWhileYouTravel.com is the website. Get your ticket. We're starting in a few days and you don't want to miss out. I look forward to being your guide on this journey. I look forward to meeting you and hearing about all of your amazing plans. But until that time, get your ticket and I will talk to you again at our next Lunch and Learn. I look forward to it. Take care and be blessed.